Innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GANS plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection, as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centers. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.
Welcome everyone to the 316th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, February 20th, 2020. That is 02202020. This is a broadcast from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond. I'll be one of the hosts today along with Flink Malhausen. And of course, we are joined once again with Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And I think he's ready to go to deliver today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe, are you there?
Yes, good morning, good day to you as usual. Whenever and wherever you listen to these Knowledge Seekers workshops. Some of the Knowledge Seekers tells me, now I put many people to sleep. I hope it's a good dreams and it becomes a nice dream when you wake up and reality is with it. As we heard last week, the situation with Chinese flu is getting extended to more nations. And unfortunately, yesterday we lost 2 people in Iran for the first time to the flu. The extent of the disease is expanding, and is crossing borders, what we call mercilessly, and we have offered support to many governments, and we should see starting the effects of back on how we can support some of these conditions. We hear from the Chinese government that they're thinking, or they think that they have managed to tame the situation. And as they said, from 17th of March, one city should be open for business. And we wish all the best for the Chinese government and its nation that will achieve it. Indications are totally different. In different part of the world, we still will see the drop as it comes into next few weeks as we pass through the cold part of the seasons or the year. But the reality is that this virus will come back again. We have not found the solution to eradicate it. We have found the solution to maybe, in some cases, reverse it. According to the secret national reports, 10% of the people survive long term. The total infection is 90% mortality. The governments at the moment try not to release data so that it doesn't bring national panic, but the reality in the background is much harsher. And in so many ways, the biggest position for us as Keshe Foundation Knowledge Seekers is to get support through what we call the new technology as much as we can and extend it to the way that we can support other people. Up to this moment in time, we have not heard any of the Keshe Foundation Knowledge Seekers have had what we call losses. We're still standing firm. Maybe one or two got infected, but they have overcome it. And in general, this is part of the technology which we depend on. There is a lot of things we have to clarify as this takes hold. It might disappear in the next 4 or 5 weeks through the heat, but it has the possibility to reoccur during the summer and back into winter stronger. The environment has not been disinfected. There is no technology at this moment of time that can do so. So the ground for it is ready. What is hidden somewhere can merge in any shape or form, even if it is somebody freezes it and defreezing it after the winter time. In totality, we have to come to certain understanding as Keshe Foundation Knowledge Seekers. One of the main things that knowledge seekers have to understand clearly is the masks that they are emphasizing for people to wear to stop breeding this airborne disease. Most of the people who die of this disease do not die of fever. Fever always drops. Majority of the cases is the lung infection. Majority of the cases is the destruction of the layers of the lung. So when we get these, they say people have overcome the virus, shows no virus in blood. The cells in the lung are deteriorating. And according to the official reports and what we see firsthand from the doctors facing the, what we call the truth about this technology and technology of virus to kill, is that they die of flooded lung. Doctors report jelly type material flooding the lung. And even if you can empty it, it'll flood back again. And people literally die of suffocation. And up to now, the Chinese alternative medicine or traditional medicine has shown some sign of bringing the fever. has shown some sign of recovery. But in general, we do not see at all direct clearing of the lung. So the major problem in this condition is damage to the lungs, not so much the fever. Fever can be controlled. The blood cells will show perfect thing. But down the line, those who suffer from this infection, one way or another, very much like leukemia, will die of the lung damage. The statistics have been kept to those who have been discharged with none, but if they follow this, as we see it now, after 25 days and after 30 days, lung will kill because it solidifies. They cannot stop, becomes rigid. They cannot stop. And one of the things that I said with this situation with masks, I discussed this with a number of knowledge seekers, especially those who are on the healthcare section, is that yes, you put the mask on to attract or to stop the virus to enter the lung. This virus officially has 30 minutes life. If it passes 30 minutes, according to the scientists who deal with it, it will not damage that much. But when you take the mask off, you have to go through a strict way that you never allow the outside of the mask to touch the inside of the mask when you put it away for next time use. You never touch the front of the mask because you transfer. And what happened is that the lungs, when you touch the mask, when you turn it, you touch it, or the mask folds on its own inside out, you carry the virus in. So in a way, what the mask has stopped, you infect yourself with it by touching it. The virus has different ways to take hold. We have not seen in many cases yet the evolution of the virus into muscle tissue. Only affects the lung tissue. If this virus gets into the muscle tissue, we have no experience. We'll see rapid reduction. We see dead cells, rapid black cells, black skin, and all that. We have not seen it yet. So what happens is when you use these masks, make sure 100% you never touch the mask and you always put it flat on its breathing side, not on the air side. Make sure it's not touched by the body or the nose when you put it back on. There's a new mask we've seen that has come out by the Israelis, confirming that they can do everything and done everything. There's again, the problem with this mask is the same. It needs time to work. But going back, the time you take the mask on, you make a mask off, you still can pick it up. These masks needs to be washed, these masks needs to be handled, never touch them. Even the ones which they say they can wash it, they can do whatever you like with it. It has to be at a very high temperature. It's literally if you have cooked what I call lobster, you need the boiling water like a spaghetti, boiling water, drop it in, and then you have to go through a sterilization. Does not mean that the virus is dead through the heat. The prevention comes when we can sterilize what we call the centers of the disease, hospitals. Unfortunately, what we hear from the Chinese authorities on the surface and the data we have, over 5,000 medical teams frontline have been infected. This is the people who are supposed to help us, putting their life at risk, are getting infected by us and giving it to them, the disease, when we carry it. What is important to the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers? You're using the masks. Before you use it, during the use, and after the use, spray it with a gas water, that you at least try to kill as many as viruses as possible. Keeping your mask with the spray can help you to do it. When you touch it, when you take the mask off, again spray your hand with the gas water. Spray your face with the gas water. Don't take anything for granted. We have a major concern in Iran, which by today or tomorrow will establish why and how this cluster has appeared in center of Iran, south of Tehran. There are certain reasons for it. We want to eliminate it. And then we look at the same pattern, if and why. Where the disease has appeared in Iran is the center of religious organization. It's the center, it's where the daughter of Blessed Muhammad has been buried. And it's the center of culture of Islam. We are looking into different aspects of it. But it's near the Tehran, Iran major airport. It's somewhere near there. So we want to know if it's been a cross-contamination between the Chinese traveling through Iran back to China. As you are aware, most of the airlines have stopped flights to China. Iran, Istanbul is one of the ways at the moment that the Chinese have found to go back home. We would like to establish why 2 elderly people in Iran have died yesterday. The notice was short. Initially, we had a notice of infection 4 days ago, officially denied, and then now we see was a reality. Internal memo was released and then denied, not to create panic till they could control everything. But with the announcement of yesterday to death, and 2 elderly people who are non-Chinese, has raised alarm in international security. What we would like to see, if the race game is played, and if we find out, we have to respond accordingly. One of the main things for everyone, every knowledge seeker, is to keep built, make sure you have enough that you can support yourself and your family and your neighbors. The governments at this moment are paying deaf ear to anything, because you got to understand, most of them are in panic state. In so many ways, place up what we see, holiday zones like Tenerife, Canary Islands, Maltese, all these become a center danger, not only for the virus, but economical damage. People will stop traveling. And this will create a massive problem for most of these nations. Be aware and be very careful in how and where and the way you travel, even in the airplanes. If you have to sterilize the seat, spray the gas, and just there you are safe. You do not know who's been on that chair and who has been in that cabin. It's your responsibility to protect yourselves. In so many ways, if we stay correct and we follow the procedures of protecting ourselves using the gas or any other technology, that's all it matters. We will see a drop in next 4 weeks as the temperature goes up. And as I said, our concern is to see if it'll follow after the warmth, which means if it links up and it's linked itself up into the what we call other viruses. The problem for all of us is very simple. Make sure you stay safe. Make sure you keep your immediate families and friends safe. In so many ways, you become Samaritans. In so many ways, you become to understand that in so many ways, you're the last man standing. In so many ways, you're the last doctor, physician who can help through everything else, through what you know regarding this virus. And try to understand what is the next step. We see the drop most probably in the next 4 weeks, but we see incubation time and more vigorous one in autumn. So a lot of things needs to be done during the summer by the government to be able to protect, to be able to eradicate most of the foreseen and unforeseen situations. Many of you have made ganses, you get different colors or whatever. It's no problem, because at the end of it, because you have the two coppers inside, you always create a gas which is at the copper level. You always create a combination of CO2 which has a strength connection of carbon. So do not panic if one is yellow or green or blue. You have created a condition, but according to what you have created as an energy passage, you get different colors. I have seen some knowledge seekers use galvanized, what we call ganses. These ganses cannot at this moment to be used for this virus. This virus is airborne. It has to be handled through carbon, oxygen, CO2. If we get disease through muscle tissue and the blood, then we go step, because when you use galvanized paper or sheets or whatever, you produce, some of you have produced blood, hemoglobin. Then we can use it. This is important for you to understand. If you produce the red hemoglobin when used by mistake galvanized papers or sheets or nails or whatever, you can move into the next step, and we would like to stop that at the moment. Are there any questions regarding this before we start to the next step?
As usual, attendees can raise their hands so they can ask a question. Not seeing any questions right now, Mr. Keshe.
So we can all survive it. That's good.
I have a question, Mr. Cash. Good day, Jalal here.
Hi, Jalal.
Mr. Cash, if the Chinese know about this technology and they are already exposed to this technology, why they do not take it seriously?
They have taken it seriously. There is a problem which we addressed this very early on. We have recorded conversations confirming that the Chinese military have taken the technology very seriously. Knowledge seekers are working with the Chinese military. These are knowledge seekers we know, to produce around about a ton of gas a day to disinfect some of the cities, and they are using it. This is one of the ways they are controlling it. There is a very big problem that Chinese have a habit of stealing technologies, and this has come to a head again this week. Chinese do not want to confirm the technology belongs to any region, and what the Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers in China have told them, Mr. Keshe is our teacher. We produce it ourselves. And in that way, we see another betrayal by the Chinese government, because it's the habit to give them glory to themselves. But if it saves life, let it be. At the same time, Chinese government is working in different layers to do different ways. And in so many ways, what we have given implication of it has been done by Chinese knowledge seekers in Shenzhen. They're working with the government closely and actually producing the material. It is interesting how they bend to the pressure of the government to say that the technology is Chinese, and hopefully we'll see this coming back in so many ways, because we have a recording of it by those who've been trying to recruit other Chinese Keshe Foundation supporters to work for them to produce more for the Chinese military. The reality thing is that the Chinese government is split in two sections. And this is right at the top of the CPC, which is the governing body of the China. There are those in the governing body and the head who would like to reduce the population of China by another 400 million. And these do not want to see any process, not only Keshe Foundation, but others to come into operation. You saw us last week, what we call the academician, or what we call the specialist who wrote about the Keshe Foundation. And we exposed him, and 2 or 3 hours after the teaching, he went around, they made a threat on me and this and that and a lot of rubbish. And we know in informing who was where, a number of Chinese leading scientists been arrested for collaboration with Americans. We expose a lot of things, you knowledge seekers just listen. But in a way, we give a lot of coded messages to governments. They understand where to go, what to look for. At the same time, as we see, is stealing of technology by Chinese has taken a new shape this week. And this thing has to stop. This stealing technology, this paying to have to be more superior has to stop if the human race is to become one. What we are doing is absolutely opposite to what we do in other parts of the life. We find a sportsman, becomes an elite sportsman, we glorify them, we put them on the pedestal, and we allow in every shape or form they show themselves. In the world of science, we imprison our elite scientists just because they work with another government. They share knowledge with another government. Our sportsmen cross the borders, change their passports and run on the flag of another country, play football for another country. And as we see in black sportsmen run in the arena of the, what we call European races, do not speak a single word of the national flag, but they're allowed and they become the gold medalists in the Olympics and the rest for that nation. But human race has gone so low that imprisons its scientists for sharing knowledge and forces them, what we call the scientists, to find a way to share knowledge. And then when they find these people, they imprison them for life for sharing knowledge. This is the beauty of the way I said the Keshe Foundation. Knowledge is free. Nobody can be imprisoned for it. And even when they want to steal it, they can steal it to their benefit in the name of their nation. When a man steals a gift, he is by nature a thief. That you cannot change. This is the behavior of Chinese leadership, Chinese government. When they steal a gift to the nation free, it shows that the leadership and the government is a thief. Does not matter how you shape or name it. Doesn't matter which country. Americans do the same. And when a nation is by nature a thief, becomes rich because they've done nothing for it. They've stolen technology. And this is what we see. I have made myself very clear to the Chinese and other governments. Knowledge has to be an asset for mankind and not property of a nation, and fabrication of the lines on the land which God never created. We saw sadly another case this week one of the leading scientists, imprisoned for sharing knowledge with Chinese, or Chinese trying to steal or collaborate on the different names and banners from Harvard University. If government open the borders of science, no one will become a criminal. If the knowledge is used for peaceful application and extension of the knowledge for humanity, has to be glorified, has to be understood, has to be brought up to be applicable by all. We've seen a leading scientist this week imprisoned again by the Americans, selling technology to Chinese. But do the Americans say how they stole technology from China? This has to stop. One of the main functions of the Keshe Foundation coming to operation has to be freedom of sharing technology the way we do, not imprisoning our scientists, not imprisoning those who have become elite. Those who create and use their knowledge to harm humanity have to be isolated. But those who share knowledge for whatever reason to extend it cannot be imprisoned, cannot be killed, cannot be put, if we don't have it, we don't get it, to be killed. We've seen it in this case. I send a link to Rick if you want to put it up. When the government teach the scientists to be open, scientists do not need to go under the table to work. This is what we encourage. The Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers in China claim it. He is our teacher. So be it. He is, but has to be with and through it. Those who went and worked with the Chinese military to now produce massive amount of this should share it directly with the Keshe Foundation, with the government. Military has a different agenda and government has a different agenda. When we stop killing our scientists, when we stop imprisoning our scientists, is the time when the man matures to understand these are messengers of God in the name of humanity. They share more than many others do in the name of prophets. And do these scientists who put their lives on risk to share with other nations and other people, criminals, and do with them what they do with Christ, crucify them? Why such a brilliant scientist has to be in prison? Because he shared knowledge with another human being to extend it. And why do the Chinese go this way? Why can't we openly travel and go across? If you look at it, we had it last week, we had it the week before, we have it in Tehran, it's coming time. You're all knowledge seekers, you come in with different knowledges about the technology, and voila, you just put it in the teachings of the conferences. You go into teachings and you teach. Why don't we imprison all of you? What has changed with the Keshe Foundation? How come we share knowledge freely and they take it and then they put it in their name? Does not matter, but at least it saves themselves. But when it's a nation, does it? Then it become a criminal offense. Isn't it better to have one nation and all the scientists under one cover? Why don't we give protection to our scientists internationally? Why do the scientists get what I call victimized? Why do our assistants have to go into prison or get killed? This guy has assistant, Chinese. Doesn't matter she's a military or whatever. She's there to support and transfer knowledge to his nation and should be free. Why should Fabio could be killed just because he's assistant to me working in developing? We in Keshe Foundation been through it. Why do we glorify sports people who live after drugs and they show for a few minutes something and then disappear? And those who share knowledge for life and put their life into science get imprisoned. As I said, to Tehran conference, we bring a lot of weaknesses which man has created for itself. Why I have to attend a court case next Tuesday for death of Fabio, and then when I want to attend, I get threatened. I go to prison for 43 years if I go and talk in court. Just to show what we know gives me prison sentence. A king could not threaten me, let alone the peasant man. It's our right to deliver in every shape or form the truth about knowledge and those people who work around us. Hijacking documents of the company, hijacking computers of the company and everything else and threatening one after, everything is in the hand of legal frame of the Interpol and the police. We're just looking into it more. How did Fabio got killed? When we want to explain, it's a criminal offense for those who want to benefit by a different way. It'll be in the hand of the court. I invite the Italians to invite the Italian police on a private line chat in the next day or two. We don't make any allegations. We show and we explain in detail how Fabio was murdered. Murdered. We've been told if we release, we become a criminal. Since when revealing a criminal act has become a crime? Except those who want to benefit by it. This man, chair in Harvard, shared knowledge with the Chinese. He goes to prison. You look at the conference in Mexico, you look at the conference in Brazil, you look at the conference in Vienna. We share knowledge and knowledge seekers come and teach and what they've done. Which one of you been in prison? This is what is wrong with our society. Letting criminals run, imprisoning the intellect. To bring such a man to such a knowledge takes generations. And who loses? Humanity. Why don't put the pictures of the pedophiles, the kings and those leaders who killed many and put them in prison? How come they are free? And men of science are imprisoned. If the government make transfer of technology free, no one needs to lie for the love of their knowledge and sharing their knowledge. And no government needs to pay backhanders to create such a crime. Knowledge has to become the point of peace, as we have seen in past 4 or 5 weeks. Till you don't teach a lesson, the children play and make noise and destroy things. We taught a lesson to the Americans. Since that day, we haven't heard a single thing about the war, destruction, what is going to happen to Iran? The new charter is that way. Science and technology creates peace. Advanced science and technology creates peace. If the lesson was not taught to Americans in Iraq a few weeks ago, we would have had everyday rattlesnaking as we've seen for months and years. What happened? Let me explain to knowledge seekers, the American government officials and the Chinese who are sitting in the background, and to my Iranian leadership who is sitting in the background and listening from the Iranian government. I explained this to the Iranian officials very clearly, and we understand why we're going for the Tehran peace. In talking to some of the military elite in past 3 or 4 weeks, as I said before, a joke has started. And the joke is, if the Americans could not save their base, how come they are selling us defense technology? How could they not, the Europeans and the Americans in the same base, protect themselves, and now they want to sell advanced technology which worth nothing to us, to take money from the mouth of our people and give it to them. Since the situation in Iraq, many military orders have been cancelled. These are piling up, and we are making nations, governments more aware of it. If they have it, why did they got flattered? And they were not a meager army, they were more advanced nation on this planet. The position for peace through technology and science has started taking shape. And as I said to the Iranian leadership, we have to take the step that we become the leaders in peace and transfer of technology freely. In so many ways, knowledge has become the cornerstone of the present peace. Maybe this virus is the next step for it. This virus can clear 2 points, showing having no border and extending everywhere. It brings nations to have no border, so we've seen it. We all get it. The virus doesn't get a passport to get on a plane and go from Malaysia to Asia to America. Secondly is, who initiated these viruses? Do we allow these people run free? Do we allow people, just because they think they have become leaders in the finance in the world, now they have become ethic collectors of reducing population? In so many ways, they are digging their own graves. In so many ways, today's teaching is very simple. What are we going to do with the knowledge which is going to be shared unconditionally? And the knowledge which is shared through backing of governments unconditionally. What is President Xi is going to tell his people when the virus, in one way or another, through Keshe Foundation technology, has come to be benefited somehow through it? We stole the technology. Isn't the one was saying we're going to bomb it out? If you remember, we use every means to destroy, and they even put a map of 52 most historical sites in the world of Iran on the map. We're going to bomb the historical places because they are not defended, the others are full defended. Either we're going to go as low as Trump, or we get them trumped. The ethic of the knowledge becomes the player in the knowledge. By international law, evidence have to be correct to any court. Why do we imprison our scientists? Why don't we imprison the athletes? Athletes don't get up and go to another country, come, you're Nigerian, you don't speak any language, but you become an athlete for my nation. They do the dealing behind on the tables and then suddenly they take a new passport. How many athletes have been in prison for crossing borders? Sharing what the nation built up. What is wrong with us as human beings, and how come we come so low to do these things to ourselves? The problem, you will understand very soon, is that you knowledge seekers, now you all become spies. Because you're sharing freely. And you knowledge seekers in China who work with the military, and you say we cannot work with Mr. Keshe because we're getting paid to become rich, and government has told us don't say anything about Keshe Foundation. Have you lost your ethics and have you lost your dignity? We'll expose your names, we have recording of it. And then the Chinese government has to say, we stole technology. We gave a gift and you're stealing a gift. So by nature you're thieves. Be it the knowledge seekers or be it your leadership in China or any other country. Any other question?
We got a question from Chris in YouTube. How do we overcome people's resistance to the technology and the cup of life?
Nothing, you just do your work. Resistance to it is their lives to lose, not yours. You see, the resistance to the technology comes as long as the fox exists in the Kingdom of Belgium, where pedophiles give children to the heads of different organizations to pleasure and buy their silence. As simple as that. It's an ABC. As I said, when the Keshe Foundation is allowed to come out and do whatever we are doing and you are doing, then you are worshipped. People are like sheep and they follow even on the top. In the bottom line, you've seen with Sterling, 127,000 plus people are under investigation and over 7,000 have been arrested for pedophiles. We saw one of them at the top was killed in a prison, or he said they hung himself, and we've seen the other judges accidentally got killed by it. So these people on the top have taken the bribe of life through what they called, you never understood what they call the free energy. The free energy lobby were those that the life of children was free for them, and that's what the phrase came. And they all sit at the head of the real estate of the nation, starting from kings and the rest down. Any other question?
Here's a question from Leon in the chat. Can we use water fountains in cities as a system for protection or health? If we put the Life Cup GANs and aminos in it to cover a big area, how much do we need and what ratio?
I know a woman who did it as we traveled around the world. She was forever in the fountains. And I know a lot of Chinese did, a lot of other knowledge seekers did. You spread the energy. When you use fountains, you're better off to use the GANs than GANs water. Because there's so much energy, and the GANs are like suns, they deplete. And it goes, if you go across fountain by fountain, especially you travel summertime, you will change it. You give energy to the people inside. You don't know how they change them. You don't know how they're affected by it. But in so many ways, you share, you put additional energy which they are not aware of. But this is the length and the strength of their physicality. Whenever we travel around the world, Caroline does this frequently. It's just the woman I know. She forever feeds it into the fountains and waterfalls. We've seen the Chinese in Shenzhen, they forever throw water in the rivers. There is a structure which hopefully, if we didn't have the problem in China at the moment, would have come through, is extraction of a large amount of CO2 from space, or what we call atmosphere of cities, and to be fed into the channels of the city to expand and in so many ways sort out many imbalances. At the moment, the Keshe Foundation team is talking to a couple of governments for this purpose. It's one of the best ways you do. If you suffer, Trevor, I had a question in one of the chats that what happened if you put gases in the room, in the house is good, but you have to understand, if you have a sick person with a cancer, you cannot put, for example, CH3 in that room. CH3 is the level of the energy to the sun. Would you like to change this picture, please? So in that purpose, you, what do you call, energize, you give energy to the cells, all the cells. So it's, you have to understand how and where and what you do. Many, many places use this natural water for energy, for extraction of minerals. There's part of the teaching you've got to understand. And something which I touched before, but I want to expand on it today a little bit, that you understand some things in a broader way. If you look at what we discussed before, the life of the man is made of 3 blocks on this planet. You have air, you have the water, and you have the solid, which is the from this planet. Each one of these bring to the body of the man energy of the certain strength. In what we breathe, we don't only take oxygen, we take fluoride, we take calcium, we take potassium. In this, we do the same. We do the same thing. And we do the same thing here. In our breathing, we just don't take the air. We take energies of the elements which fit into the structure of the air for the use of the body of the man. We take, for example, let's say potassium of a strength 0.1 to 0.4. In the other, we take from 0.5 to 0.8. In this potassium, we take from 0.8 to 2, where the 2 is the maximum. This is what our world of science have not understood, and this is time for us to understand. We just don't take water, we just don't take air and what they said, oxygen. In every breath we take combination of the energy of the elements which fits into our lung. Our lung does not give the energy only to the blood. Our lung is conversion of the energy directly. And if you look at its position, very simply, is this. This is your lungs, and this is your liver. The lungs give the energy of potassium, which is needed for certain actions through field transactions to the liver, without ever going through the body. If you look, the position of the liver in this place is exactly the same. The liver and the intestines around it. So they give a different strength to liver. Liver does not take all its energy, all its vitamins or whatever it needs on all the strength. They go through transfer of fields through organs. They don't need to be absorbed. They get, at the same time, when you drink and eat through your intestines, again, you're surrounded with the liver. So the strength of the solids of the earth absorbed again to the liver and by the body. So in each process, every time we breathe, is not just the oxygen energy. It's the collection of the energies of the elements which are within the air, is absorbed by body. And in the process of even viruses, some of the viruses come through the strength of the connection to these, to the body of the man. When we go to space, when we close our mouth, we don't need the lungs. When we don't eat, when we have no need for water, then we become more and more vulnerable. Energy transfers, the storage transfers in our body. In a deep space where we receive energies, these energies can be as harmful and as needed by different part of the operation of the brain or the physicality. One of the most important parts of this transformation by not eating, by absorbing energy, is the only structure which needs to keep the physicality of the man, which is what we call as a bone structure. But our bone structure in due course will change to energy packages to keep the structure according to its environment. Now that you become more advanced in the knowledge, now you can understand the next steps in gaining the knowledge and what you can do. When you go, for example, for inhaling, up to now all of you use the then and CO2 and maybe something. But now you understand you've been feeding yourself half cup. The other cups, other vitamins and other minerals all have been ignored at the strength of the air, not at the strength of the solid or the water. When it comes to your physicality, you have to understand this. When it comes into condition of your liquid, you have to understand this. And when it comes to the condition of the air, you have to understand this. Especially for our physicians, especially for those who work around the medical application, they have to understand this. And then you find out you are more effective. The system works better. The conditions of change become much more rapid. Then you have to consider the structure of the soul with these and within these structures. Then you understand the cup of life at the moment is only to survive this virus. The true cup of life has to cover every piece in the structure. Understanding this part goes back to what I keep on pushing you to move away from cancers and start understanding the energy transfer, plasmatic energy transfer. There is a lot of teaching goes on in the Persian language by Hassan, by Dr. Hassan. And I wish we could translate this back into English and to the other languages. He explains knowledge in such a depth that a lot of you need to understand, maybe has not come from my translation. My son was telling me, do you know why the Iranians follow and understand your technology better than the others? Because you speak English Farsi and they understand it. To them has a meaning because they think English Farsi too. And that's why the Iranians are so successful with your technology and the others haven't managed to break it. If you understand the totality of the knowledge, and if you could get some of the teaching of Hassan to be translated into English, you will understand a lot of new ways which could not be or have not been understood. I go into his teachings and sit some time and it's amazing. I said, this is exactly what I say, but they don't understand me, but they understand him. You got to go in more detail. The knowledge seekers now, especially that we're going into massive teaching, not share of knowledge, cannot be any more ganses. What happened to this cup? And what happens around this cup? Who gets affected on this side of the cup and how? And who gets affected on this side of the cup and how? Hopefully by next week, the enhancement unit, the first two, should start coming out now that the Chinese factories are reopening and allowing us back in. And then it becomes a new zone, a new environment for everyone to enjoy. Yes, it's okay. In this process, we have to open our eyes and open our eyes to the knowledge of the plasma, not to the physicality of the GANs of plasma. This was one of my biggest fears, that the knowledge seekers will do this, and they've exactly done that. They've gone back into the matter state of the plasma. Start looking into interaction of the fields, start looking into combination of the interaction of the fields, try to understand how the fields interact and create life with each other. Try to extend the knowledge with the fields, not with the matter state. Then you'll see a new world, new knowledge will open to all of you. And then it makes my life much easier to teach. In the space technology, in the dimension of the interaction of the fields, in understanding the totality of the transfer of the fields. Some of you might say, where does this, for example, potassium come from the air? We are, as I've said in the teaching of the past, we are the bottom eaters of the air atmosphere. Interaction of the fields of the earth and the sun create a life in non-dimensional physical tangibility, but in the dimension of the field of plasma. And these lives here have a life. And in time when the life ends, like the way it happens in the oceans, as the fishes die, they go to the bottom eaters. Mankind with all its glory is nothing but bottom eater of the air above. They have already digested the calcium that you think you're breathing and it's yours. And as I said, always said, and this brought, I've seen a woman going sick with it, is if you're a black man in Africa and a white man or a woman in Europe, or you're a Chinese in China, you know one thing. You want to know the truth. You cannot stand the color of a black man, but you breathe the air he breathes, and you're happy with it. You're breathing the second-hand air from him. We are each other's integrated an ingredient of life of each other. We breathe and we inhale and exhale. And the white man next to us does the same. What I breathe, he breathes, and he still thinks he's better than me. And the same. When mankind understands how stupid he's been, even by his air, which keeps him alive, then mankind can never be prejudiced or racist. Now with this virus, we've seen it. Chinese man breathes, European gets it and dies. How else can the virus transfer? Unless you transfer it through the breath of my life. Through the same breath, I spread the knowledge of love. And through the same breath that you take from me, I spread death through the viruses and everything else. So if mankind understands we are totally and utterly as a whole race breathe each other in and out, man could have never been in races in any shape or form. Then if you love the next air you breathe, you love me because I give that air to you. As we are breathing the air from upper atmosphere, and we allow it to enter our lung, and then we breathe it out, and you breathe a mixture of the two, and then it goes back, and when it comes back to me again, I'm breathing what you breathe in the others. So you're part of me and I'm part of you. How can I be on top in any shape or form, a king, a leader, and anything or better than? Because I am what you are and you are what I am. What energy level in calcium you breathe out, it could be this is what I need for my structure. So I depend on you breathing as much as you need on my breathing. When mankind understand this, the prejudice and the lies and the stealing will go. And mankind has not become wise to this yet. You don't need a mouth-to-mouth breathing to give life. By breathing, we give life to each other. You feed each other. We are nurseries of energies in different levels. How can one be superior to the other when it eats from it to survive by it? So it must be inferior, that it needs to be fed. Or do we all accept we are part of this? This is one of the maturity of man needed for man to enter into universal knowledge and the universal understanding of energies. Then it comes my tea. This is tea break time. Try to become open-minded and try to understand the knowledge in true essence, not to what it fits. It's too hot. Try to be aware of everything and try to be fully aware of everything. And don't be afraid of threats. Don't be afraid of whatever they do, they might do, because when they threat, they think they have won. And we will, and we shall release documents to show scientifically how this life exists, that in so many ways, in reality, when we die and we go in the depth of this and we go across in different shape or form, we again become part of another life, all of us. And now we exist in the bottom of the oceans as collective residual of the lives above. So in so many ways, in the long term, we become the creator of this. So what are we races for? as one of the knowledge seekers says yesterday, where do all these souls go which are dying with this virus? The pleasures of their life goes to elevation of those, and the losses of their lives goes to instigate. If these people understand what they are doing to their souls, they'll commit suicide, at least to say what they can say. Rich in banknotes which are only worth another 2 kilometers on earth, if you can spend it 2 kilometers, depending how high the restaurant and the apartments is from the ground. And the rest is depletion of the zone, of the soul of the man. In what actually worth, you have less. In what does not worth, you have more of because you killed more. If you've seen one of the recent videos on the internet, the Chinese government has decided to burn the notes because they think it's a way of transferring the virus. And I said, fantastic. Now we really become WeChat bot. And it's interesting is some of the Chinese are throwing the money through the window because that money in their pocket could be the one which carries the virus. They don't want it. If you've seen some of the videos coming out of China, money is raining down because they just realized they could have been to the supermarket. There was an infected guy who was picked up. Money cannot buy life. Knowledge does. We see amazing things with this virus. It's becoming to the point of maturity. It's getting ready for Tehran conference. As I said in the Tehran conference, if we get the agreement with the Iranian government, the opening speech will become one of the most eminent scientists, supporters of the knowledge and technologies of eminent Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. Knowledge needs have the man who understand it and nourish it and support it like him. In so many ways, if we still had the Shah, we would have been a slave to the Americans. In having a wise leadership, understanding the science and technology is the backbone of the nation, we stand where we stand, proud and high. Not only for Iran, but allow the knowledge of Iran to be spread across this planet through the Keshe Foundation. Don't forget, the first space systems were developed in Sharif Tehran University by invitation of the Iranian government, by the leadership of Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. When we come to understand more about the facts, the reality of life, we all understand we are made of the same. We feel the same, and we eat the same, and we share the same air, not just because we walk it, just because physically we drink from each other and we breathe from each other. Maybe now you understand why we are one nation. Maybe when you understand we are one race. Mr. Hot. As I announced to the Iranian government yesterday, upon the request of the Iranian government, I'll be back in Tehran to oversee the virus position. to support the doctors and not to take leadership, to bring a new technology and to be able to curtail pain for more people. And through that, improving the technology in Iran, we transfer it across the planet, bringing shame on the leadership of Chinese, those who want to hide what they use. We have announced our standby to fly to Tehran with a call of the Iranian leadership. And we hope if they need it, they will make that move. The newest Iranian knowledge seekers are extremely talented, who can support and spread. And this time, the Iranian leadership would not go by the race, color, or religion, but by the humanity, to be correct. Any other question?
Yes, we have a question from Leon. Can the virus change or manipulate the RNA or DNA? And if yes, does the cup of life GANs repair these defects?
The position is very simple. Now, you have to understand. You have to understand the depth of the knowledge. This virus enters the body of the man. I chose the yellow. This is a Chinese man, yellow skin. I love the yellow skin. So now the virus enters the body. What does it do? It adds or takes or changes something in the body. Maybe this balances DNA. Maybe this balances RNA. Genetically modifying, maybe. But what is interesting is that by drinking from the cup of life, the cup of life is a reference point. This body was made from the copper, from the zinc, from the carbon of reference. So anything will happen with the cup, all the changes in DNA, RNA will go back to the point of reference, genetically modifying to what it was. Because now we have, if you understand, a point of reference. Your ganses, when you use for health application, is reference point in respect to what changes might have occurred from this to this. This reference point is strong, does not have anything to share with. So this reference point, this change has to go through and gives you the purity. This is what you knowledge seekers have to understand. And it's you who decides this reference point. The way you make your ganses, the way you mix it. Are you making it for breathing? Are you making it for drinking? Are you making it for eating? So if we all understand this, your ganses is correction of deviation, because this will not change. This cannot change. It came from the lowest, which is the earth, which is what we are made of. The zinc, the copper, has a spectrum of energies, yes, but our body is made within that spectrum. We give it a reference, a point of balance according exactly as this is made of GANs, this is made of GANs, this is made of GANs, which is a nanostructure plasmatic fields which leads to the creation of human body. And the way we showed you and the way you all made the ganses, this GANs has 3 dimensions into it. Has the amino acid, has the soul, and it has the physicality to exist within it. So you create the 3 dimension for it. The physicality which comes from the oil on the top, the soul which comes from the interaction of field of it, the physicality which comes from actual GANs itself in a dimension, exact copy structure of your own body. This cup of life is life in cup. You have to understand. And for that, we have given it a fix. In science, we always have a point of reference. In life with GANs, this is our point of reference. So if you have slight changes, you have a DNA and RNA correction too. Because it has a soul, interacts with RNA. It has a dimension of GANs, it interacts with DNA. I have given you a gift, if you understand it. Gift of life. You call this cup a man, I call this cup life. What's the difference? Holder of dynamic gases with emotion, with soul. If I put this in a fish and I give you the fish, I tell you fish of life. Does it make any difference? Man is so physical.
Mr. Keshe from from Leon again, can a virus be the reason for mental diseases?
Of course. If it's at the strength of the brain cell, yes. We'll see many of it in the space. There is something which man will understand much faster. The brain of the man, in its all beauty, will go through transformation in a space. In so many ways, we will not see a structural brain in a space for man. But due to interaction and the fields in the universe, due to the matter state, we shall see only the fields of the brain. The shape of the control system, what we call the brain, will take shape at a point of destination when it confirms and converts into point of physicality, what that physicality might be. It will not move. So you will see even the brain can be and will be affected by energies in the space. Because if you're in a space where the potassium and the calcium and the zinc and the CO2 in a given plasmatic condition converts to its gaseous or plasmatic field energy condition, then you don't have a brain, but you have the fields of the brain that they still operate in the same way: consciousness, pain section, decision making. If you understand this, you understand how I saved the life of Naomi. I don't rely on the structure. I rely on the fields. The structure to me is irrelevant. And then in the dimension of physicality, the structure builds itself in the position of the fields. That's how we repaired the brain of Naomi. And nobody understood. You look at the physicality, I look at the field transfer, and I keep on telling you, understand the field operation, not the physicality. Because in a space, I take you few kilometers up, according to the law of physics, gases changes to da-da-da, gases changes to the di-di-di. What are you going to do? You're going to be di-di-di or da-da-da. But if you understand the extension and understanding of totality of the world of science and the interaction of the fields of universe, you understand this what it is. Would we in a dimension of the physicality, understanding there is such a change there, do you think you have a skull? Do you think your brain and your bone structure will be there? All vanishes. We have to open your eyes to understand deeper in a slower manner. We have to be able, knowledge seekers are present in the future, have to understand what is sits with them. Teaching of today, some of you have not understood, but you're sitting here because you come to listen to Messiah. But do you hear the word of Messiah to the soul of Messiah? Or do you hear through Messiah, where the Messiah is your own soul? You got to be clear and understand. Then would mankind become kind to his own physicality, or become kind to his own soul, or become kind to the energy which creates him. If you look, the story of a life of a man on this planet, it's very simple. In not understanding it, man has made it complicated for himself. Any other question?
question from Stephen from earlier. Can we use a plastic tub to make this GANs? I think he's referring to the 1 cup method.
You can use anything, but we prefer ceramic.
Or a glass
Oh,
jar, you mean, like?
Yeah, anything. Would you like your skin black or white?
Speaking of which, Leon asks, can we translate or copy feelings or visions into ganses or plasma fields through our soul and hands?
Pardon? Can you repeat?
Can we translate or copy feelings or visions into ganses or plasma fields through
Of
our
course you
soul
can.
and hands?
Of course you can. They're all fields. We have a writing here, I see, from Chinese Wuhan blockade is very serious. Every household cannot go out. So it's hard to send the medicine to people who need them. Tell them the methods are hard to be implemented because they lack the materials and confidence. It should be better when Wuhan is unsealed. You have to understand, we understand you, Shen. The Wuhan, they're literally bolt welding the doors to the houses. They are literally taking torch welds and they're welding the doors, nobody can go out. This is to control, but on the other hand, this is sentencing people if you are sick, which means family die together. One gives, as you don't have the nourishment, you can't get food and everything else. You become weak and immune, and so many families have died together. Wuhan and Chinese, that toll has passed seriously 1 million people. But the Chinese government has to be honest with this nation, not the Keshe Foundation, to show figures and release numbers. With its citizens. And I hope those who are the true lover of humanity will take, not those who've been paid to reduce numbers. We are aware of it. We see, I see secret, what we call informations. Our intelligence is strongly powerful, and at the same time, we stay loyal to the Chinese nation. But when there is a problem, it has to be looked at, has to be sealed.
Mr. Keshe, Krasmir has his hand up. Perhaps he has a question for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Krasmir. See, your microphone is opening, but we're not hearing any sound.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Can I ask a question before Krasmir?
Yes, Madam Wang Lin.
Thank you. A Chinese is asking that the Chinese herbs or traditional medicine is applying in the virus, and he's asking.
Just 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, please, 1 second. There is something has come in, just wait. Okay, carry on. Sorry about that.
Yeah, somebody is asking, is the Chinese medicine play the same role with plasma?
We believe so, but it has to be done in the correct way. Chinese medicine is another version of ganses, made from the ganses, but it has to be converted to it, not in its matter state. The beauty with this knowledge is that we are a collection of the knowledges. We are not something elite that we are always right. But we have to understand and even upgrade. I have a very big problem with Chinese medicine. And as I explained to you, which I know the officials always read in the background, whatever I put on, the opposition or what we call discussion with the Chinese medicine is that the Chinese medicine, herbal medicine, is using majority of it what we call poisons in it. And when you make a gans of poisons, or they want to mix the Keshe Foundation technology with the herbal medicine, we hear the team which goes with Fanzo, with the Chinese military and the governments working, are mixing it, boiling it. This has become a lethal weapon in the future to kill many more Chinese. Because Chinese herbs have such an in-depth of poisons in them that now you bring it into the food chain. This is what I object to those who think they're very clever in the Keshe Foundation and they are doing things, and I warned them before. If you want to, this is what we have told, we have an agreement with the Chinese universities to do the trials, and I encourage them to work with the Keshe Foundation and Chinese herb. Chinese herb are natural ganses, but with the poisons, they become death traps. This is why the Chinese medicine nowadays is not as effective of the olden days, because so much fertilizers, so many pesticides have been used that it has changed their composition. Now they enter the body, they don't work and they become poison. They create more dangers in most of cases. And that is why the Western medicine, which is purified to one level, looks better. As I said to the Chinese professor when I was there a few weeks ago, where we started clinical trials, is we should use all the natural herbs, not only China, Africa, South America. Europeans have their own herbs. Asians have their own herbs. If we go through the cycle of growing herbs, third generation, through GANS technology, which is the purifying, that there is no pesticides coming from the ground or herbicides within the structure of the plant, yes, we're talking about the same. But at this moment, Chinese medicine, with unpurified, with everything else, you're just injecting more poison into the body, and they think, oh, it's working now. Yes, show me the body in 3 months' time. Neurodegeneration, brain damage. And then what you say, oh, we cured it, this is something else. When a knowledge seeker works with the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation, has to be open to accept everything, not just pushing the new technology. We don't create new hypocrites. The best, you've been with me, Wang Lin, many times in negotiation. I always say, Chinese herb is a step, another step for the Keshe Foundation. But first we have to purify it. At this stage, 99.9% are poison. Even the doctors, the Chinese medicine doctors don't know. When we start creating herbs like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, where there were no fertilizers, there were no pesticide that poisons these plants and they become pure, we can test it, then yes, it has to be, it's made of us. It's us. We've seen it in China is the biggest producer of tea, but how many of you have really seen real Chinese tea in European markets? Very little. Why? Because when they test the tea, the level of poison pesticide is so high, does not pass certification of entry to Europe and America. Here we go and we buy tea. In China, the tea is given as a sign of love, care, and respect, as a gift. We give each other a gift of poison. When we clean up, when we go back to the process of real bio, natural product through the gas technology or any other technology, then yes, it has to be. But at the present time, those who boil, I hear in China, ganses with Chinese herb, and they say, yes, it's effective, yes, the gans is working, but your poison in what you're boiling creates more problem for Chinese in 3 months down the line. You have to pay for those souls, sir. You become rich in the pocket, you become so poor that your soul cannot find a place to live. Understand, and never ever be prejudiced towards, I do the Keshe Foundation. I explain to my son, he says, Mom says, I have to study the Keshe Foundation teachings, but I want to get to university and I want to do this. I said, Papa, listen, knowledge is a step that we all have to go up in. The knowledge is the knowledge of material. Without it, you cannot live. This is another knowledge of the plasma. You have to learn to live with both, because you are made of both and one is connected to that. Our knowledge, as knowledge seekers, we have to be very open-minded. Never refuse another technology, but build on it, unless it's fallacy. And if we get this behavior understanding, we always succeed, because we are inclusive, we are not exclusive. I cannot create the GANs of the copper if the earth doesn't give me the material. If the atmosphere of this planet does not create this plasma, I cannot produce CO2 if this atmosphere doesn't make it available to me. How can I say I have a CO2 without energy?
Ms. Cash, there's another question. It's about somebody found that they add 1% salt into the GANs, add back too, and found put there for a couple of days, and they found the amino acid has formed in the surface of the GANs. So they want to know why.
The salt goes back to the teaching of a couple of times before, that the salinity dictates the creation of the matter state of the body of the man. One salinity gives you the heart muscle, one salinity gives you the lung tissue. So it should not be very hard to understand this. You change the salinity in respect to your environment. So yes, you have. Any other question?
We had a question from Hassan earlier, who says, "Hello, Mr. Keshe. You said to give freely the 1 cup, 1 life. And if somebody's..."
Can you stop 1 second, please?
Okay.
Just one.
We'll try to get you in, Krasimir, after I ask this question.
Sorry about that. I had to stop. We're waiting for a message from Iranian leadership, and it's just going through different ways. I thank all the Iranian team working in the background, facilitating everything possible. This, we are waiting for final instructions to travel to Iran. Carry
on. There was a question about the Iran conference from Ed in the YouTube. What is the process for getting a visa to attend the Iran conference for an American citizen? You mentioned once that the Iranian leadership might give a special visa for conference attendees.
The situation with conference in Tehran has to be clarified with the Office of His Eminence Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. For this conference, if we get the final approvals in coming days, there will be a special arrangement made, as His Excellency President Trump will be invited as one of the members of the conference. The Tehran conference is a peace conference. We will invite the heads of Saudi Arabia as the heads of the State of Israel. It's a process of peace and the understanding that then there'll be a special arrangement between governments and to what limits we can allow people. Some numbers are flying around in discussions of 10,000 attendees. Some discussions are how many heads of states. I have cleared to the authorities, the heads of states will attend, which we can invite. And in that process, we have to wait. This is an international affair, it's not the Keshe Foundation affair. You have to understand, when we invite the world leaders have to be met by the Iranian head of state, Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. So this process is very extensive. It's in its development, and it needs a lot of organization. The last time Iran has had such a number of world leaders in Tehran, it took the regime of the Shah nearly 5 years to organize it. And we are trying, because we have the facilities and power now to do it, very well organized, to get world leaders in 2 months into Tehran. We've been told through the Chinese team, they can tell us if President Trump attends, President Xi will be. And I have already put the Keshe Foundation team in US on alert for what it comes. And when your president comes, your citizens should have no problem. We got to understand that Tehran conference is not Keshe Foundation. We are there to show the technology which unites us. The world leaders have to make a decision how they unite. In my request from the Iranian government, I have put the rights of the Vatican, the Pope, to attend the conference. The invitation to do heads up the state of Israel's religious leaders. The same to the Sunni leaders in Saudi Arabia. And has to be inclusivity. At the same time, has to be the acceptance of peace as alternative. When we share such a knowledge on such a platform, when you as knowledge seekers will be invited to present in what you have achieved and what you have gained through your processes in different nations, then what is going to be, who's going to be the secret information and what is going to be patented? The process of Tehran conference is not just a conference of the Keshe Foundation. It's a conference of the change of attitude by all of us. Be it from our world leaders to religious leaders, to the point of understanding the totality. I was sitting in a discussion table just 2-3 days ago with the head of a government, ex-head of the government, the Prime Minister. And he said to me, Mr. Keshe, what do you want from my nation for what you're telling me that you have given us and you're giving us? I said, I want nothing. Just make sure no one dies of the virus. He said, you know, these things doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't exist in your head, but it exists in the world of the Keshe Foundation. And he said, there is nothing I can tell you. We never had such a gift, so we don't know how to handle it. You are American, we are Chinese. We have to safeguard Tehran by showing the virus is eradicated very rapidly in the next 2 weeks and making a Tehran conference a virus-free zone. Very soon, we will offer through Tehran operation, hopefully once I get there, if I get there, what we call virus tourism. We accept, if your nations don't accept, you know you have a virus and more or less maybe you're sentenced to death. We accept your plane, your body, your soul, and we'll see you, we meet you in Tehran, and we send you back home with no virus, with no infection. When I call it the virus tourism, one of the guys was laughing at me, I said, they have no choice. Somebody gets this virus, sentenced to death. There are many rich people who are virus. The money cannot buy their life. So we do it and we spend it on the nation and on the people. Handling this virus is a way to unite humanity if you know how to. Don't worry about visa, get on the plane when your president flies in. I was talking to one of diplomats. I said, you know, when the Iranian president went to New York, the last conference of United Nations, he was restricted to certain blocks. He could not go anywhere. He was literally by law free, but by nation imprisoned, which is against the law of the United Nations. But the Americans put in their house. And all the world leaders went to see him, that he didn't need to go anywhere. I said, when the Trump comes to Iran, we give him the freedom of Iran, let him choose where he wants to go. And then he'll be ashamed of what he's doing and what he's done. You got to understand, a lot of things is made to suit. But a lot of things we make to suit. And with the new technology, with the new knowledge and insight and sharing so freely, we govern. Any other question?
Krasner, would you like to go ahead? Apparently you have your microphone repaired.
Yes, I think everything's working now.
Yes, we hear you.
Hello, Mr. Keshe, and hello, everyone. I have a question related to what you just explained.
Can you introduce who you are, where you are from?
Yes, my name is Krasmir. I'm from Bulgaria, UC member for Bulgarian language.
And?
Sorry?
And?
And head of the sales team of Keshe Foundation.
Kazmir has accepted the position, full-time position as marketing and distribution of the total Keshe Foundation worldwide. With his expertise, we welcome you into the family of the Keshe Foundation.
Thank you very much.
Go ahead, please.
My question is related to what you just explained in this teaching, that once we go a few kilometers into the space and the gases transform, so our brains will have to transform as well. Does that mean that the plasma is so dependent on the conditions that, for example, if we take the CO2 kit in space, we would not be able to capture CO2? And how would we be able to feed ourselves if we go into space and are not able to capture the materials? And would it be beneficial if we find a way to create those conditions on Earth?
The thing is, the magnetic fields always find a position where they can position themselves. You don't come into the vacuum. You're positioned into what you can receive. So that's not a worry. And in a way, when you give a room to the GANs in a different dimension, it will expand in respect to its condition. Oh, which one is this one? It's a beautiful Hindi, I think that one. The possibility is that, as I said, this is a favorite word of Rick. Energy or the expansion of one atom can fill a universe. So if you create a condition of the conversion of the field, one GANs can cover the solar system. This is what the sun is. And that is why you find Mercury as a liquid in one planet and you find Mercury as a vapor in another. In a vacuum condition of a gravitational field, they manifest themselves in different, but it's still Mercury.
So do we have the same elements on different planets, or We have
Of
the same
course,
principles of the
of
element.
course. There is the energy of it. It's just that if the inertia is there to transform them, energy exists right across all the levels of the universe. Is the energy in what we call inertia level, in that level, which manifests the material in their state of liquid, gas, plasma, or solid. Even within mercury, there is a copper. Even within the gold, there is oxygen in a plasmatic energy field. Because without it, you can't have the next level, which is sodium. You can't have the energy of the zinc to be there for it to become gold. It's a stack up, but depends on the environment and the field, the strength of the environment, and then the inertia, which is the matter state of it, which one it manifests itself. It's like a light.
So in this case, would that mean that the physical manifestation of any element contains everything below it as a
And above,
physical and above?
and above it, of course, it doesn't disappear. It's just that it's not visible to us, it's not usable to us.
Okay, thank you very much.
You see, when you travel as a field from the sun into the boundaries of the solar system, at the boundaries, the field changes and we see helium. At the more center, we see heavier and more elements. So this is inside it, it's in the full spectrum of it. Depends how much of the energy of it we use. It's like a banana, how much do you strip of it? If you think of a plasma, I've said many times before, like an onion, the further you go, the bigger it gets. But in a way, the taste is the same in every layer. If you ever want to study a plasma, join two onions or cut onion and put it end to end and look at the behavior. You see a real true three-dimensional plasma.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, we have Leon, who's an attendee here, has his hand up and had some of the questions earlier. Would you like to go ahead, Leon?
Yes, good morning. The question was just, is it possible?
Sorry, if you can just say who you are and where you are from, that would be great. Thanks.
I'm Leon from Germany. I'm a student. My question was, is it possible to put the GANs, or is it good to put the GANs into the canalization to spread the live cup GANs to cover bigger areas, or is it not a good idea?
Can you repeat? I don't understand your question.
Is my microphone okay?
Yes, it's just I don't understand your question.
So, is it a good idea to put the live cup GANs into the canalization? So I make GANs and just put it in the canalization in my toilet or whatever. That it goes into the system, into the water system of a city. So everyone would get some of these gases or fields to
I
cover.
presume you can.
Yeah,
We have
not
a
dangerous.
friend. No, it's natural field. We have a friend in Argentina. He puts everything at the bottom of a tank and everybody drinks from it.
And how much we have to produce, or I have to produce to have a good result?
You always have a good result. It depends what you do. You see, when it's in a cup, it's effective in a cup. When you put it in a cistern of the toilet, now the volume is bigger, but it's the same amount of gas. When you flush it now, it goes into a river of it. So if everybody does it, then we'll see that as how you expand on it. A gas, when you use it long term, has to have a source. Many people just put a gas in a bottle and say it's there, it's got. It gives energy out. Okay, you absorb some, but if you want to have a gas which goes for a long time, you have to leave some of it in the bottom of the cup. If you have a dynamic bowl and you just put gallons of water of the gas in it, it lasts maybe a day, 2 days, maybe a month. But it's energy, it's given and taken. It's not just that because you put it there, you wish it there. So when you use things for a long term, always leave some of the physical gas in that gas, and then you see it gradually is not there, or they change color as they give energy.
And one other question, for multiply the GANs of the life cap, can I use the how we call it, the health cup with the 4 amino acids, and do it like with the orange that I translate into the water? So I wouldn't need to produce always copper, nano-coated copper, and so on, and just have kind of fast production of these matter of the scans of the water. Do you understand the question?
I don't understand. No, I don't understand.
If instead of, we know the health cup with the 4 ganses, right?
Yeah.
And instead of the orange, I will put there the GANs of the life cup. Yes, of the life cup. So I would take the fields of the GANs into the water of my life cup, you know, with these 4 amino acids and GANses. So I could produce maybe faster and a bigger amount of these GANs, of these life cup.
I'm totally lost.
Can we use the GANs of the life cup instead of the orange? You know the experiment with the orange. It was another cup.
Yes, you
can. Sorry.
Yes, you can.
So yes, then the possibility to produce more GANs and faster. Just with...
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. But you have to keep the GANs in there.
Yes.
Anything else?
There was a question earlier from Guion in the Q&A. When I hand out the GANS water to my family and my friends, this must also be in mind with the desire to eliminate the virus. In other words, you have to have that intention to eliminate the virus.
Without intention or with intention, they will do.
Mm-hmm.
We will do.
Is that because your intention has gone into the process?
Most probably.
Okay.
Mr.
Yeah,
Keshe,
what else?
Mr.
I
Keshe,
hear John from Argentina voice in the background.
yeah, I've got some people in the Spanish group. They want to make sure how many grams of salt they have to put into 1 liter of water to make the
We usually advise around about 15%.
15%. That would be
Yeah.
150 grams per liter.
Roughly, yes, but you can do it with less or more, but you get different kind of strength. If you're producing cup of life, maybe 2 or 3 of it, use different salinity, and then you have a collection of different gases, and mix them together. And make sure you separately collect the amino acid on top. And when you collect an amino acid, always carry some of the GANs at the bottom into the cup. You keep the environment correct.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. We wanted to clear this because on the audio, this wasn't pretty clear.
I've seen that you lot putting it on. I've seen that. I had a very big complaint from one of the doctors in Iran that he wants 1 hour of teaching directly for him and the other Iranian doctors. Doesn't happen. I don't have that 1 hour. You have to educate yourselves. Doesn't matter, you're the only doctor in Iran or a million of them. I try to teach as much as possible. Wow. This is beautiful. I just received more or less the final shape of the enhancement unit complete. Thank you very much to the Chinese team. This is absolutely beautiful. It's become reality. It's become absolute reality. Thank you very much to the Chinese team. It looks gorgeous. I'm sure it'll save many lives and it brings many joys to many men in the space. In a way, as one man said, we are ready to take up. The enhancement unit just we received transmission now. It's completed the structure, physical structure. From outside, it looks absolutely what we promised. Thank you very much, the whole of Chinese team in the background who has made it possible. It's beautiful.
Mr. Keshe, I imagine we could recuperate people that are very heavily affected by the coronavirus, put them into the health unit and recuperate them. I imagine so.
We don't need to imagine, that's what it's supposed to do.
Exactly. I want this clear.
In space, it'll become your feeding station, your doctor, your material production. Once we show the enhancement unit in Tehran, you will see 2 units in this shape. One is the enhancement for body, and one is enhancement for material. The two have to exist together. Maybe we can produce the material that the other one can take as energy. In a way, the two go hand in hand. I was looking at the design of the new enhancement center, spaceship center in Arizona yesterday, and the way it's been done is gorgeous. I'll ask John, I saw him going off, it's too late for him to be here. You will see that the centers are taking shape, and he should show it, not me. And you don't see him, I think he went to sleep. I saw him clocking off. John, he was here. They have designed how they're going to position the 10 units in Arizona, where the property has been bought. So they're working on it. The head of the Keshe Foundation, what we call production management, Jamila, is in US seeing this through in conjunction with John. They have come up with a beautiful setup. It's all mapped up on the floor, waiting for the system to arrive. Yeah, I think John is gone. Maybe next week's teaching will come from beautiful city of Tehran, where we'll be in conjunction with the Iranian scientists try to divert the situation with the virus. And we'll see how we can tame this unruly animal. Let's see. Next question. If I have to go to Iran through the request of the Iranian government to support, I will not be able to attend the court in Italy. Those of the Italians who are here, please record this and pass it on to the Italian police force. I was told if I give this evidence to court, it'll become a criminal. I don't think understanding the fact is criminal. There is a certain facts missing which the police could not put together, and we can shape it up. And please, I know the Italian Universal Council members and other Italians are here. This is for the soul of the Fabio. He has to be freed from what is done injustice to him. I explain this without accusation. I explain this thoroughly and exactly on a physical evidence. You have to understand that I was the last person seeing Fabio alive. As he got into the car, our cars were parked next to each other. I entered my car on this side. Fabio enters his car outside and Naomi on this side. At the point of accident, the body of Fabio is some meters away. It's estimated between 7 to 20 meters. But the body of Naomi has been found on the driver's side. There are a lot of discrepancies with the evidence which has to be considered by the Italian police, and it's baffled the Italian police. As I said, we got to the car and Fabio drove off and me within minutes behind it. Fabio lives somewhere around here, I live somewhere around here, and we travel one road. Distance, maybe 30 kilometers, 25 kilometers here, and he has another 30, 20 kilometers to go. I come up at this junction. And Fabio and Naomi carry on. This is what has happened as the volunteers and knowledge seekers. They always helped us in our center in Ballet. You have to understand the topology. There are a few turn-ups and one or two fuel stations somewhere in between. And you have to understand the road construction of Italy in this area is 2-track road, which means this side of the road has 2 tracks and this side of the road has 2 tracks. I usually come and they usually drive the same way and I go off here, they carry on forward. Fabio was found dead at this position. The discrepancies which the police could not understand is that at a point where the junction is here, at a point of accident, the car has been touched by a truck hitting the barrier, rotating, whatever, stopping at this point, where the truck driver has carried on and stopped. The witnesses seen things flying out of the car. There is a very major discrepancy in the whole package of this accident. Where Fabio was found on the ground, understanding that the car has gone into number of rotations after being hit by a lorry, Fabio body, because I was the last one again to see him to put into coffin. We were allowed by the family to see Fabio before the coffin was closed, to say the last goodbye. The discrepancy which has baffled the police, we've been told the police has made a lot of elevation of this accident they can't understand, is at any speed, 30, 40 kilometers, 50 kilometers, whatever, that the body is thrown out of the body, out of the car, there is no scratches on the face or the feature of Fabio, except damage to the back of his head. You have to understand, if you throw a body, if you throw an egg, if you throw a tomato, if you throw a potato, even if you throw a stone for 7 or 20 meters, in the speed does not land without no scratches and no broken parts. This is what has baffled the police. How can a body be thrown out of the car, flown maybe 7 meters, maybe 20 meters, depends on which point of reference you get it, and have no scratches, no bruises, and only damage to the back of the head? And strange enough is when you set the car and you put the 2 passengers, the damage is only onto the left side of Naomi's head where she was blind. We don't see the front screen smashed, there's a crack on it, And we find Naomi on this side at the point when the police arrives. And again, what we see is only one damage to the side of the eye of Naomi, with a hip broken. The puzzle is how two bodies going through this crash and being found in such a different distances with no scratches, no bruises on the body. It looks at Fabio has fallen in a point. He literally has collapsed. He's flown, stood up and landed, and just as somebody who kneels down and died. There are central barriers here and there are barriers on this side. So we presume he's touched nothing and he's flown all the way. And he landed, and he, which is against all the laws of physics. We are not accusing anybody of anything, but as a physicist and somebody who understands the interaction of the laws of physics, this is impossible. And this is what is baffled the Italian police and Interpol. We see these kind of fall on when you're hit by a hammer in the back of the head, or you've been hit by the side of the head, the way we see with Naomi with a hammer. Which means Fabio was alive and he was attacked by a hammer in the back of the head. Naomi was alive, attacked on the side of the head by the same hammer. This hammer is what you have to ask the police and the authorities to check. The size and the position. We need this as evidence to be checked. Please send this part to the Italian police. I tried to do it and I was told everything possible and my evidence will give me 43 years of imprisonment. If evidence to a scientist is a criminal offense to have, there is something wrong with the law of Italy. If Fabio's body carries no scars of any bruises flying 7 or 10 meters from the car, and only bruise on the back, it means he has been attacked. And now we tell you how he was attacked. This is because I'm a witness and a scientist, I can claim the right to analyze the facts. As you know, months before, there was an attempt to kill me in Valletta, where the police arrested a black man who came from Holland, and subsequently, through whatever connection, he was released and he had to leave Italy. What has happened is there is a story behind this. When we lived in Desenzano, and John, as one of the knowledge seekers who poisoned me, he told me something very strange. He said, I explained to him how when I was going from Kortrijk to Antwerp, going to Germany, a bomb under my car blew and I could see the parts. And I pulled into the hard shoulder, but my engine was running. So I knew I better don't stop. I carried on. I came out of the first exit into coincidentally, the showroom of the Mercedes. What John told me is, what we do, at that time I didn't know he was an agent of Belgium. He said, We make you to go, they make you to go on the side, and when you're on the side, they attack you and they kill you with a hammer or something, which was strange to me. He said that when people, he says many scientists, many people we want, this is how it's done. He must have thought I'll never stay alive to remember this because he was poisoning me. So the plan when my car was blown up with my sister and my family in it was to pull me to the side and then do what he said. And strange enough, we see the similarity. This opens a number of things for Interpol and international police to look at number of the people who submitted patents and new technologies to Belgian Patent Office and how many of them have been killed on the roadside road accident. This opens up a structure. A soup was another, and killing scientists through accidents is another. And they all have patents submitted to the Belgium or Patent Office. This is part of the investigation we'll open in the European Court of Justice to show. Now, understanding that what happened to us, it means if they put a bomb in my car, which did, we have all the invoices from the Mercedes-Benz for how they did it because they blew up the electrical circuit we had to do. It shows a pattern of work. They have placed a bomb. That was the only night we left the car outside for Rubin not to wake up because he was young. The car was outside the secure yard and they placed a bomb underneath. So it means there is a tracker, or two tracker cars, where they wait for you to go out, they get out, they hammer you. This is the word we'll call John into the court as a witness, and we have recordings of this. If this is the case, it becomes like a road accident. But the case of Fabio was a puzzle. So what this means, the police has to track. We too were tracked out of the office, and me having a faster car, passing him going, the trap is set. We did, and we released a very interesting information because our analysis as a physicist did not make sense because we could not understand how this position accident could happen without anybody seeing. We always presumed there could be two trucks, but it still left a lane open for others to pass. We released the interesting thing in facts about Dirk, and he picked it up. And in his writing, which we have a copy of, he talks about 3 trucks. Then the solution, the position is very resolved. 2 trucks block that nobody can see. The 2 cars, or the car who is carrying the man with the hammer on tow in between. Pull up, hit, 2, go. This is why the Italians could not find, because they were not aware of the behavior of the Belgians in killing scientists. I'm not making accusation because I'm the victim. And to this reason, we see other cars in videos, and Italian police has to see where are 2 trucks, as Red Circle has told us there were 3 trucks. Because how do you know if it's 3 trucks if you haven't paid for it? Now, this has to go to the police by the Italians as fast as possible, that on a Wednesday trial, on a Tuesday trial, 25th, I'm going to be in Iran, the soul of Fabio can be defended. This is a pre-planned murder. I must have jumped in going out fast, and Fabio was trapped. And it is for the international police, for Interpol, and for the Italian secret services to decipher on this, knowing the new knowledge that this is how an agent of Belgian government tells me in my face how I would have been killed in that accident. And we need to open up to see how many patents, how many scientists in Europe have been killed this way, road accidents, and see those who are the patents submitted with a lot of value, which ends up on the desk of the lover of the King of Belgium, who we know who he is. We do not make accusations. We are very straightforward in what we put down. We stand in the courts of law and we show the invoices of the car damage, the position, and Mr. John will be put on a system to confess. So the position is very simple. Please contact the Italian police, as I cannot be in the court, as I've been told, I've been called by the Iranian government to save and proceed with the enhancement of this virus. If I get that call, I have to go. It's the job of the Universal Council member as part of the Keshe Foundation and those who loved Fabio to make sure this knowledge, this part of the teaching, gets to the Italian police as fast as possible. This is not a theory, this is a fact. And the only thing the Italian police didn't know is that Fabio was working, supporting the Keshe Foundation as a volunteer, and was working with a man who the Italian police have 3 times record of assassination planned for his life. Once in Rome, poisoning in the Desenzano, shooting in Valletta. And now we connect the whole lot through Fabio in this case. You have to explain to the police, how can a man fly? Even you get an egg and you throw it 1/2 meter, what happens? Let alone the beautiful skin, the softest skin, and the beauty of that Fabio. No scratches. When I stood on top of the coffin before they close it, I said to myself, this is impossible. Caroline says, we both stood there. We said, this is impossible. How could we be flying out of the car? And no scratches, no broken bones. Now we know why. This is a planned assassination. Just the wrong victim. Because in the other car was me and my son. Please take these as fast as you can to the Italian police. The case of Fabio. And we were told there is 3 years 3 years sentence if we simulate an accident. We simulated in our head, understand the motion. We simulated on a computer to understand where we lost a friend. If that is a criminal offense, the lawyer has to be imprisoned for making threats. Then it comes, the biggest question. if Italian police can proceed with this, who has paid for all this? 3 trucks, 2 drivers. Are they connected, or is this an accident? Then we have more evidence to connect Red Circle to Albania. This is not the place for it, but if I show you the evidence, which we'll give to the Italian police, will be a shock in the whole system. Black and white evidence. We left Italy for this because we were told there is another plan of assassination by the Belgians on my life. And if you notice, after the death of Fabio, we moved to Italy, to Africa, there on to China. And now you understand. A young boy should not have a hole on the back of his head. A young girl should not have a hole on the side of her head where they could not find any blood inside the car. My assumption is Fabio came out of the car running after the truck because he loved his car. He got the hammer. Naomi seeing him hit, run behind. She got hit on the side, put in the car. And all the simulation by the police confirmed it so. My Italian friends, we love your nation, but we don't like those who make threats against us. I'm not stupid, I'm extremely intelligent, but we had to wait till the court case appears and we could give the evidence to the court. And we were told if we give such evidence to court, we'll get 43 years of imprisonment. And if evidence to court brings imprisonment, explaining as a scientist what you see, then there is something wrong with that nation. And there is nothing wrong with the nation of Italy. We love you and we have a beautiful life with you and amongst you. And that was part of the plan to break up the Italian family of the Keshe Foundation. This is the truth about the life of one of the most dearest friends of the Keshe Foundation. It took us 2.5 years to put all this together. And we waited for the court case, but the wish of God, life of more people, and the beauty of the life of Fabio has to be taken to the police immediately. This is a scientific analysis of an accident, the way we analyze plasma technology and everything else. There is no accusation, but this is a state of fact. And the police will tell you how, if the shape and the size of the wounds are the same and it looks to come from the same hammer. That's all. I hope we bring to justice those who did injustice to us as a family, taking such a beautiful boy out of our lives. But what made me to do it, to go out with it, was the threat I received. I'm going to go to prison for 42 years if I bring this evidence to court. I'm a scientist. I can put, and the police will confirm I'm correct. We haven't made simulation. We understood the situation. Find who is responsible for the case of Fabio and let them have this imposition as fast as possible. We look after ourselves through international governments. We do not make any accusation. This is a state of fact, and now police has to understand how the fact has taken place. What we understand, possible, they've been parked along somewhere, ready by the instruction when they saw us leaving Valletta to move in sequence pre-planned. And possibly the car who did the hit is somewhere in between. It could be many people involved. It could be not this truck driver which is at the scene. But there is one thing. The connection we have with Red Circle ends up with an Albanian. Now you can see how everything is the responsibility of the police of Italy to decipher. It was a fourth attempted murder on me, but unfortunately Fabio got caught in it. Or was it planned to kill him, to teach me a lesson to stop and give everything to the Belgians? They didn't pass poisoning my 6-year-old son. The damages and the losses for the life of Fabio and Naomi has to be paid by the state of Belgium. I told you, when I finish with European Court of Justice, the kings of Belgium will cry for their lives. They told us it was all dream getting poisoned, it was dream getting done. Now it's the reality that you come in. Why should somebody get hit in the hammer, a young boy and a girl? The point came when we triggered. I told you many times, when we release information in a coded way, we push to see what happens. If you've been with my teaching, we pushed and we got the 3 trucks. It made sense to us. Pretending 2 trucks taking a speed, slowly passing each other, they have created a scene whatever they want to do. These roads are so narrow, when you put 2 trucks, you can't see anything through them. Please pass this to the Italian police as soon as you can, to federal police, to Secret Service, anywhere you know as Italians. It's your responsibility to put the soul of Fabio right. I've done my job. And I kept it that it can be done in a court, but I was told I can release it. I get 43 years imprisonment if I go to court and give this evidence. And I said, how come, in which country now stating the facts brings criminality? Even if you fly 1 meter, you get bruises. Even you fall 1 step in front of you with your face, you bruise on the tarmac. What is horrible to me is the man who hit was holding him and they just let him down. That was their mistake. The same, the man who hit Naomi has done, pushed her back in the car. And then they opened the traffic and the first nurse alive. I go to prison 43 years if I'm wrong. Don't forget, I'm one of the leading physicists in the world and one of the top interaction matter plasma state, knowing where everything goes and how it goes. Tell the police we want the x-rays and the measurement of the hole on both features. And let's see. Red circle, the bells have rung. 11th floor is not high for your crimes. We release the connection between Red Circle and the Albanian to the Italian police. And then we release it to you as public. Cost of such operation, plan, bring in trucks in position, at least $500,000. Who invests this kind of money to kill a man? A king who was stolen from his own nation. He didn't have a daughter, did he? He's a liar and a cheat. At least I don't need to go to court to get 43. I'll wait till they come after me to give me 45. The interesting thing is the left side of Naomi's head where the injury is supposed to be with the glass. If she was on the passenger side, should have been hitting Fabio on this side. And there is no mark of anything on the face of Fabio on the side of Naomi. This is what puzzled the police, that how come she has an injury on the side, on the passenger, that she was put in the passenger side after she ran out of the car with a broken hip. And put back. Fabio, your soul is free. Please put this directly to the Italian police. Thank you very much. This is analyzing an accident and making no accusation about nothing. And my analysis is 100% correct when the police comes to it. And the payment by the Belgian government to Fabio's family and Giovanni has to be much more than insurance policy. They suffered enough. Thank you very much for today. And let us celebrate the most beautiful life we all know. Hopefully see you next week. If we're called upon to serve the Iranian nation the way we serve the Chinese nation with this virus, we'll be there. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. All right, I think that will end today's 316th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, February 20th, 2020. And we do look forward to the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace on Tuesday at 4 p.m., I believe, Central European Time. Is that correct, Clint?
Yes, it is.
I believe that's true, yeah. Okay, so that's our next public workshop. Thanks everybody for attending today, and we'll see you next time around.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate. Innovative, revolutionary, stellar development, purest universal knowledge. In a transformative, futuristic design. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Our Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit is constructed from high-quality materials carefully selected by our team of experts. Embedding the essence of the new GAN's plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. For the first time in the history of man, a system has been developed and delivered which not only enhances the physical body of the man, but also enhances the emotional part of the user of the system, hence reducing and eliminating many problems that could not be solved in the world of science, to bring the body of the man into near perfection as at the time of birth. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists and healthcare centres. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here. The journey from space to spaceship technology has started. Every order is subject to a contractual agreement and might require additional accessories priced separately for applications according to each case. You can order or contact us at office@at.kfm.global for additional information.